in just a few minutes. We're just waiting for a few more people to sign on. So if you would, guys, type in the chat box. Let us know where you're from tonight. Seeing lots and lots of familiar faces. Does my audio sound okay, everybody? Just let me know. Wonderful, wonderful. Ben, you want to do a mic check as well?
Yeah, hey guys, can you hear me okay? All right, excellent. Sunnyvale, California, audio's great. Awesome, Dr. Gene.
Got a big group of people here from all over California, Myrtle Beach, Texas, LA, some more California. Boston, San Diego, Texas. John from Canton, Ohio. John actually grew up just outside of Canton. Good to have you on the call. Australia, Minneapolis, Oxford, England, upstate New York, Jacksonville.
Florida representing.
There you go. Maryland, London, Jersey City, New Jersey, New Jersey, Virginia, Kentucky, Japan. I think you win the furthest distance from what I've seen. Can you guys all see Ben's screen okay? It says Local Lead Generation Explosion Q&A webinar, April 23rd. Wonderful. Awesome, guys. Thank you for that feedback. I appreciate it. Like I said, we will get going in just a couple minutes.
Hey, Dion, we're excited too.
Hey, Mark. Glad to see you're on. Mark's like a groupie, Ben. He's like on all of my webinars.
Yeah.
All of my sales webinars, all the training webinars. So it's great.
Benda? Mark Benda?
Yeah. So Mark has a question if the focus of this call is on PPC. So great question, Mark. So at the beginning of each of these webinars, you guys were giving you 30 to 40 minutes of pure content, all training, and then what we're doing is we're jumping into the Q&A for the actual course. So to answer your question, Mark, yes, the content for the first 30 to 40 minutes is going to be all about pay-per-click, and then we're going to jump into the Q&A for the actual LLGE course. So if you guys can, just hold your questions. What we're going to do is we're We're going to have Ben talk about AdWords for the first 30 or 40 minutes. We're going to show you guys how we've been using Google AdWords. And then we're going to open it up to Q&A specifically for AdWords. And then we'll, once everybody's questions are answered, we're going to open it up to general Q&A on the actual course. Leslie says that she got really burned on pay-per-click some years ago, and she's afraid of it, and she hopes we can help. Definitely. Just a heads up, guys, too, if you're not in the Facebook group, you guys need to get in that. Let me just, I'm going to put in the chat box, guys, my profile for Facebook. Just add me as a friend, and I'll get you guys into our mastermind group. So I'm going to just throw this into the chat box. So just send me a friend request, and then if you will, just send me a message with the subject line LLGE group. I'd really appreciate it. I'll make sure that I get you guys added to the group. So Tom wants to know if we have the last webinar replay ready. Unfortunately, the recording crashed. I recorded it as well as Howard, our presenter last week, recorded it, and both of us crashed. So the good news is we're going to be giving you guys more than 4 Q&A webinars. Look for an announcement real soon from us. And I actually worked with Howard to get you guys another recording that he has done in the past on training for outsourcing as the subject that we talked about last week. So I should have that up in the members area for you guys probably tomorrow. I'm just, I have to transcode it and get it up for you guys. So yes, guys, we are going to record, and I would greatly appreciate it if a couple of you guys on your end would record as well, so we don't run into the possibility or the issue that we ran into last week. Yep, so guys, that is my personal page on Facebook. I just have to have you guys add me as a friend so I can put you in the actual group. All right, we got a couple of people recording. Wonderful, I really appreciate that. If you guys would, just shoot me a message on Facebook and tell me that you recorded it, and I'll reach out to you guys if for some reason it does fail. All right, Ben, why don't you flip the switch, and we'll go ahead and get started. Just let me know when it's recording.
Okay, we're good to go.
All right, wonderful. So guys, tonight I have my business partner on the line with us for our training and Q&A webinar, and we're going to be talking about getting more local business leads using Google AdWords. So Ben, if you could just go to the next slide.
Sorry. There you go.
All right, so Ben Pate is my business partner. As I said, he's been doing search engine marketing since 2001, and in the last 90 days, guys, he's managed over $750,000 in ad spend for our clients and for our lead gen sites. He was able to cut a pay-per-click client CPA, which means cost per acquisition, from $60 to $13 in the first month, then to $6 in the second month. So guys, I wanted to get Ben on the call because I had a lot of questions on Google AdWords, and Ben is the expert. We were able to generate over 3,000 calls. We're able to generate over 3,000 calls per month, all from pay-per-click from one of our lead gen sites. So just a quick caution, guys. I know that we had a comment that one of the people in the course that just asked the question said that they spent a lot of money with AdWords. They kind of lost their shirt. So I have a rule for you guys. If you follow this rule, you're not going to end up getting burnt. So if you're new to AdWords or you're uncomfortable, the best way to attack this is to do a 30-day test with your client's money. So the simple way to pitch it is just like I did with the roofing. So what I said is I'll set up the website for you. Let's test with Google AdWords. Let's run it for a month, and let's see what happens. So do a 30-day test with your client's money and tell them at the end of the 30 days that you guys will look at the results together and you'll come up with a mutually beneficial agreement. Or if you don't find that, the other option is just to set a small monthly budget that's not going to hurt you guys financially if it doesn't go well. So Dion, shout out to Dion if you're on here. He posted in the Facebook group that one of his prospects just gave him a nod to do a test for AdWords. They put up $2,000, and so just a shout out to Dion for doing it right. None of us want to put up an AdWords campaign and lose a bunch of money. So with that being said, Ben, why don't you take it away?
All right, thanks a lot, Joe. So let's jump right into the agenda for today. First, we're going to hit up why choose AdWords. Then we're going to start off on the right foot with proper campaign settings. Then we're going to show you how we do our keyword research and how we get Google to tell us what the best structure is for the ad groups. Had a lot of inquiries about that. We're also going to go over how to write better ads, how to utilize ad extensions for more leads and higher CTR, which is click-through rate, which is the holy grail, by the way, for high quality score. Also, how to write and properly split test your ads, how to set up click-to-call conversion tracking, and how to use automated rules for account automation. So, okay, first of all, why choose AdWords? So, AdWords is an immediate flow of traffic. You're going to get the sample data that you need very quickly, and you're going to answer the question, does it have legs? So, if you're wondering if a market's good or not, then you're going to find out very quickly with Google AdWords. Also, client pays for your market research. That's another big one. And you can get up and running within a day. And this is a nice quote from Dan Kennedy that we like. Money loves speed. And I think you all have probably heard, too, speed to market. It's all about speed to market. So AdWords allows you to get up and running very quickly, and that's why we love it. So I know a lot of you have your own clients, and we would definitely suggest an MCC account. I've got the link up there, but just a simple Google search allows you to find that. And why we really like that is that button right here that says Create Account, you can literally create an account in less than a minute. So that's the advantage there of having the MCC set up.
Ben, real quick, can you just tell them what the MCC account is?
Oh,
we have
sure.
a big spectrum of people on the call tonight, people that haven't used AdWords at all, and people that use it every single day.
Yeah.
So just if you could clarify on that, that would be great.
Thanks for clarifying that for me, Joe. MCC stands for My Client Center, and generally this is a type of login that is used when you have more than one client that uses AdWords, or when you're managing AdWords for clients. So it allows you to have one login and get access to all those accounts very quickly, so you don't need to log into 10 different accounts. You can log into one place and see all the data, and allows you to set up the accounts very quickly. So real quick too, with the MCC account, once you set that up, I mean this is basically all you need to fill in to get it started. So it's very quick. So as Joe mentioned, we kind of have a wide spectrum of people on this call. We've got people that use AdWords every day, and we have people that, it's about 50-50 as well, that people that haven't used AdWords at all. So we're going to cover the basics and all the campaign settings, but we're also going to throw in some good nuggets for the people that are more familiar with using AdWords. But basically, the campaign settings, that's where you set the geo-targeting, the ad rotation, scheduling. So if you have a client that only takes calls from 9 to 5, the scheduling, that's where that's going to happen. Your networks, so Google Search Network, Search Partners, and Display Network. Obviously, we suggest to have the Display Network off. That's an easy way to blow through a lot of budget very quickly, is having that on, and it's something that you shouldn't really try until you're a little more familiar with the Search Network. Also, too.
And what's the Search Network then?
The Search Network is Google. Well, there's Google Search, and then there's Search Partners. And we go into this in further detail in later slides, but that Google Search is just google.com, and then Search Partners are all the people that are hosting Google search results on their website. So also, too, the campaign settings, that's where you set the devices. So if you want to target desktops and laptops, mobile devices, or tablets, and you also set the bid type. There's some other features in the campaign settings, but we only have so much time for this call, and those are the big ones. But moving right along into geo-targeting, basically Google gives you a couple different ways to set up geo-targeting. The first one is the broadest, which Google loves to do, because that's the way for them to make the most money and for you to get the most impressions. But basically, the first option is people that are in the location and people that are searching for the location. People in my targeted location, which is like a true geographical targeting, and then people that search for, like, their search intent for viewing pages about my targeted location. So, for example, you may have somebody that's located in New York, but they're searching for a West Palm Beach dentist. And depending upon your settings that you have there, you may or may not show up there. But also a good tidbit is that generally the spam comes in from people that are in other countries that maybe search for Houston dentist or West Palm Beach dentist, and that's definitely something that you want to test, especially if you're getting a lot of spam. This is basically what it looks like. These are the ones that we just went over, and then also too with location exclusion, you can basically exclude in the same manner, where people searching, people that are in that excluded location, or people that are searching for that excluded location. So it's definitely something that you want to play with. I personally like the people in my targeted location to start with. So that's that second option, so that we know that we're targeting people that are in West Palm Beach, and that hopefully reduces the spam. So those are the geo-targeting settings. Ad rotation, basically 3 different options. Optimize for clicks, which is the default. That's going to make your ads, going to choose the ad that's going to produce the most clicks, because once again, then they're going to make the most money. And this particular setting is something that that Google's going to depreciate very soon. And once they do, the default is going to be optimized for conversions. But the only thing is that to have that available, then you need to have conversion tracking enabled. But then basically the setting that we recommend is rotate, and that allows your ads to basically get equal amounts of traffic. And when you're working on the split testing, that's the setting that you want to have. So you can see it right there, rotate shows ads more frequently, or shows you ads more evenly. And then also scheduling. And once again, these are all things that happen at that campaign level. So scheduling. You have a client that only takes calls from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And so this is where you're going to set that. Google also gives you the ability to adjust your bids for certain time frames. So one of the things that we found works very well is boosting your ads, or boosting your bids rather, between like 8 and 11 a.m. in the morning. I mean, every business is different, and by all means, you may find different results, but especially with service-based businesses, people tend to call on those early in the morning. So generally, boosting your bids during those time frames allows you to automatically increase your bid, which is going to allow you to maintain a high average position for that day. Because what you may find sometimes for people that are more experienced with pay-per-click, that their ads show high, but then certain times of the day they end up moving down, and basically that could be from people increasing their bids during certain times of day, and so that's why you're going to come down. You also want to use this when you're analyzing the times of day that are working the best or not. For example, you can see here on this particular slide that these gray squares, that's actually where we're not showing our ads, because we found that on this particular account that it was a poor converting time, and basically we were blowing through money, and so basically we turn our ads off during that time. You can see also here that the 75%, to where we identified for this particular account that Wednesday was a poor converting day, so we just lower our bids altogether on Wednesday. So basically all these settings allow you to maintain that cost per conversion that's going to remain profitable for you, and it's a really good feature. So as we were talking about before, the different networks, Google search is performed on google.com, search partners, and these are all settings in the form of checkboxes, and they're all checked by default, which is why that you have to explicitly go in and change the display network. But the recommended setting would be to start with Google search and search partners. And the search partners are other websites that are partnered with Google to display the Google search results. And then of course the display network, which people are familiar with as like showing banners. You can show text ads as well, but the display network is basically Google AdSense and sites hosting that Google AdSense code where you can target to show your ads on. Devices, you want to start with, once again, all these are checked by default, and generally you want to start with just desktops and laptops. Now, you may find that depending on your market that mobile is a very viable solution for your particular niche, and that's great, but what you want to do is silo that campaign into its own campaign. So basically you would have, with this particular example, you could have 3 campaigns, one campaign for desktops and laptops, one campaign for mobile, and then another campaign for tablet. And basically what that allows you to do is not only achieve more impressions when you silo them like that for each of them, but it also allows you to very closely monitor the results of those, because I mean that's basically how a lot of people end up going through budget and not making money, is that there's a lot of things that are out there that aren't performing, and it's, unless you know all the places to go and look at them, you can't really see it very well. So by having the campaign siloed, as it shows here, then that's a good way to to have clarity on that. Also, too, on mobile, you can set different carriers, so and different devices. So if you wanted to target just iPhones, you can do that there. Google AdWords gives you the ability to do that, as well as Android. You can even target different iPhone operating systems to where you can target the different iOS versions, as well as then tablets. Bid options. This is a question that comes up a lot, where people are curious about the enhanced CPC or cost per click, and then also CPA bid. I like just the manual max CPC bid, which allows us to put in our own bid and manage that. It tends to be that a lot of the options that Google gives users tend to be ones that help them make more money, not necessarily the advertisers. They are getting better, and they have come out with a lot of tools to be able to see what's going on. But you want to start with the manual max CPC bid. I would say if there's also an auto bid feature that's not listed on this slide, where it says that let Google decide what cost per click based upon your budget. And if you're really concerned about your budget and don't really know what to do, then that could be an option as well. And then CPM, which stands for cost per impression, which is 1,000 impressions, and that's for the display network only. So one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we covered is talking about your budget and making sure that you set a budget that you can handle losing. The last thing that we want is for people to be on this call and to give it a go and to lose a bunch of money. So you definitely want to start small. You want to only start with a couple keywords and only start with a budget that you can handle losing. So that if for whatever reason your landing page, we've had instances where seen clients that you click on their ad and it goes to the landing page and there's a phishing warning, and stuff like that is just going to kill your conversions, and unless you dig into everything, you're not going to know. So ad position. Ad position is a really unique thing that Google has put together, where your ad position is not determined by your bid price, by your max CPC. The formula that it is, it's called the ad rank, and it's basically your max cost per click multiplied times your quality score. And basically what that allows to happen is for advertisers with a higher quality score to essentially be in the #1 position and pay a smaller cost per click than an advertiser that's below them. And this is really Google's secret sauce that allows for the best advertisers to provide the best user experience, as well as that make the most money for Google. They've discovered this synergistic effect that just works all around. And let me say this, is that the quality score, because as you can see from this slide that this is something that's highlighted here, quality score is about 60% based upon your click-through rate. So by having the best ad that has a high click-through rate, that's what you constantly want to be looking at. And your click-through rate should be, approximately above 2%. It depends upon the niche and what position you're in, but if you have like a click-through rate below 1%, then there's going to be a lot of stuff that you need to do. Did you want to talk any more about this slide, Joe?
Yeah, if you would just go back. Sorry, I had myself muted, so it took me a second to unmute myself. Just didn't want any feedback. The biggest thing here for you guys, and the reason I wanted Ben to add this graphic into the slide, is if you see advertiser 1, I just think this is a great way to picture out how this really works and to really put the importance on how important quality score really is. So advertiser 1 has a max bid set at $2, and their quality score is a 10. So their ad rank is a 20. But let's say advertiser 3, their max bid is $6 and their quality score is 2. They only have an ad rank of 12. So it's really, really important that you guys have a good quality score. If you don't, you're just going to be spending money through the nose where you shouldn't be.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So ad groups. Structuring your ad groups is one of the most important things. The ad group level is where you create your ads, and basically you need to have more than one ad group. You should have ad groups for each targeted keyword phrase, and this is the structuring that's very important. Also, too, with your keywords and ad groups, you want to begin with branded keywords. So if let's say for Amazon was your client, then you would want to begin with keywords that have Amazon's name in them. And the reason for that is that you're going to have a very high click-through rate for branded keywords. And then also, too, with the structuring of the ad groups, you want to structure these based upon search intent. So there could be people that are looking for information, like keywords using like what and how. And then you have action keywords like buy and find and locate and get. And generally what you should find is that these information type keywords don't generally convert very well. If you can end up not paying very much for them, then they may work out. But you want to make sure that the search intent is aligned properly so that you don't have information keywords mixed in with action keywords or buying keywords. Also, too, when you set up your ad groups, you want to look at keyword patterns and common keywords. So for example, I mean the what and the how and the buy and the find, those could be common keywords or patterns. If you find that, like for example, find a dentist in, that could be a pattern, or dentist in is a very common with the word in. What you'll also find too is patterns such as state, and then state abbreviation, and then city and state, things of that nature. So you want to just kind of look at the overall set of keywords to figure out where they're going to go. Then also keywords, match types. You want to use exact match. You probably want to have about 10 to 20 keywords in an ad group, and you want to start with the middle tier keywords. And generally these would be keywords with 3 to 4 words in the search query. So dentist in West Palm Beach could be that. You could also say dentist in West Palm Beach, Florida. And basically what that will do is those are very targeted keywords that should allow you to not burn through a ton of budget. Because if you just try to let's say go for dentist, now you may find that could end up working for you, but you may also blow through a lot of money And so you want to try to start with something that's very targeted first, and then also negatives. Negatives is a huge area that if you were to use broad match keywords, that that you could lose your shirt by not having negatives. One of the very common things that I end up seeing is when there's a song that somebody is searching on, where they search the song name plus lyrics, that if you have something that's closely related to that, then Google will be showing your ad for people searching for lyrics when that's not what you intended upon. And then, of course, the destination URL. That's an option at the keyword level that isn't necessary, because you can set that on the ad, but that's also an option. Keyword match types. So basically, there's a couple different ones, and Google constantly tends to change this up. And broad, and these are basically how they look, other than the parentheses. So broad keyword, it's just keyword. That's generally what you see. Anything Google thinks is relevant. Modified broad, which has a plus in front of the keyword, and basically that will cover those keywords, variants or misspellings that appear in the search query only. Then phrase match, where the word order is important. So that's why I have keyword phrase. If the search query was phrase space keyword, then this particular keyword would not match that. And then, of course, exact, which this is something that that Google has just recently started changing to where, and they allow you to turn this off, but where exact is they're moving to where exact is no longer exact. Exact is beginning to behave like, or has an option to behave like the modified broad, where you don't need to include plural versions or misspellings or very close variants, that they're going to start triggering those on the exact keyword as well. But that's something that can be turned off. And then, of course, these negative keywords, which the negatives also have the match type. So you can have a negative phrase or a negative exact. And that's very important, because a lot of times you end up putting a negative broad, and you could be not showing up for keywords that Google thinks is relevant to that keyword. So generally you want to use the negative exact or the negative phrase. Okay, so one of the questions that came up a lot was talking about how to write ads and just ad creative. And so basically the anatomy of an ad is we have a headline, a description line 1, a description line 2, a display URL, a destination URL, and then now we also have ad extensions. And ad extensions are something that are very powerful that we're going to go into here in a second. And then also split testing. You want to split test one element at a time, and headline and description 1 tend to have the greatest effect. One of the things that I see people doing wrong a lot with split testing different ads is that they may just throw 2 different ads in, which is good because you want more than one, but they're just completely different ads. And so then one ends up working and the other doesn't, and they just leave that one running, and then that's it. And it's very hard to answer the question, what was it about that ad that was working? And so when you test one element at a time, meaning to test the headline, so basically you clone the ad, and one ad has a headline of West Palm Beach dentist, and then the other ad has a headline of dentist West Palm Beach. And believe it or not, these little differences make a difference in the click-through rate and ends up making a difference in your quality score, which ends up lowering your cost per click, and is what is the primary driver to making your ad show up above your competitor with paying a lesser click price. So moving into the anatomy of the ads, we've got the ad headline, max length of 25 characters, should be similar to the keyword searched. Generally, it's good to try to include a call to action, or CTA. So keywords like get, buy, find, try, those are things to try to have in there. Also, camel case, which is the first letter in each word capitalized. That's something that tends to increase the click-through rate as well, but is something that you should test. And then as I mentioned before, in regards to changing the word order, believe it or not, these small changes make a difference. And then here at the bottom, this is a resource that I use when I'm not in AdWords. I just do a search in Google for character count, and basically allows me to test some different ideas and to count how many characters there are to see if it's going to fit or not. The display URL, max length of 35 characters, and what you want to try doing there is add a category or brand for after the domain. So if it says like www.domain.com/ and then brand like HP, or category like toner cartridges, and then you want to also try the camel case on the display URL. Believe it or not, differences between underscores, hyphens, no hyphen or no underscore, so there's no spaces, versus camel case, all lowercase. These are things that you want to test, and believe it or not, make a big difference. That's why we have that the display URLs useful for increasing the click-through rate. Something else too that you want to try is having www or not within the display URL. And one of the reasons why all this is important for the display URL is that that the display URL actually builds up a history similar to the keywords and the ads. And if you have a certain display URL that tends to have a history of a high click-through rate, then if you create a new ad and have that same display URL, Google's automatically gonna give you a little higher quality score, or give you move you up another notch, because they're seeing that, hey, when you've used this display URL in the past, that it's worked very well, and that that there's a history for those display URLs. Add destination URL. And so the www thing's not to be mixed up with the destination URL, but the destination URL is basically where they're landing after they click your ad. So that's like your landing page. The keywords should appear on this page. The page should not be orphaned, meaning that there's no links that go to the page. So if let's say your website has 10 pages, if none of those pages link to this particular landing page, then that means it would be orphaned, and that's something that you want to try to avoid as much as possible. Sometimes it's not always possible, but once again, that's a best practice. Page should contain links for privacy policy, terms of service, and then a contact us page. Other internal but relevant pages are good. So Google doesn't like to see these squeeze pages where the user's locked in. They like to see that the user has options of other places to go to. Sometimes you need to add your UTM codes, but not always for this. And the UTM codes is like the UTM underscore source equals Google, stuff like that. A lot of times, especially if you have the AdWords and analytics connected in the account, that's not something that you always have to worry about. but sometimes it's nice just to kind of have everything clean and to have those. But that's where you would have those. Also, too, the page should have a title with the keyword and/or ad group name, and the page should also have a paragraph or two of text that contain the keywords. Sometimes you have these landing pages that are very image intensive, and those can work. But having some text on the page, even towards down at the bottom, that's relevant to the keywords, it just kind of keeps everything looking right, and that Google's able to make sense of it all. So that's definitely a best practice there. So ad extensions, this is something that Google has added recently, and it really allows your ads to become very powerful. Use them to increase your leads, use them to increase your click-through rate, which once again is going to help your quality score, and use them to stand above the rest of your competition. Because when you're using an ad extension and they're not, it just jumps out at people that you're an expert, and that's what ends up increasing your click-through rate. You end up getting noticed. So there's a couple different types of ad extensions. Site links is one, call extensions is another, and then location extensions. There's a couple others that only get turned on at certain times. But for the local lead gen, these are primarily the main ones that you should be looking at. So this is an example of a site link extension, and once again, great way to get your ad noticed and increase your click-through rate, which is going to have a positive effect on your quality score. Once again, and you'll see that click-through rate is mentioned a lot, and it's because it's one of the primary drivers of having a high quality score, which means a low cost per click. So you always want to pay attention to that. Site links, this is an example of them right here, where you can see this example for pizza store. Site links allow you to drive the visitor deeper within your site. For example, a restaurant, they might want to have a link that says menu or order takeout now. And once again, these are just more links on the page that allow you to, if I'm looking to go to a restaurant and really what I'm after is the menu, if I see a link that says menu, then I don't have to click the site and then look for menu on the site. I go right to the menu from Google. And that's what Google likes, and that's what the user likes, and the click-through rate it tends to be, I would say, 50% higher with these site links. That when people end up clicking the site links, that if, let's say, you're without site links, your click-through rate may be 5%. That I've seen click-through rates like around 15% for these site links. So that's something that's very powerful. Also, too, call extensions. This is something that came out, I would say, maybe a year ago, and just like with the site links, that allows the customers to immediately dive deeper into your website. If somebody is going to go to your website and look for your phone number to call you anyways, which is generally what people do for a service-based business, for example, these call extensions just bypass that step and allow the customers to call you right from Google, and it's really nice because it tends to be a lot cheaper. Generally, if you had a 30% phone through rate is what Google calls it, which would be somebody landing on your website, that it would take 3 people visiting your website to end up being 1 call. How much does it cost for 3 clicks and that's generally a lot higher than what it is for just this one click to call. And this is not only click to call for mobile, but also then for desktops. So desktops, they pick up the phone and manually dial, and sometimes you can pay as little as $1. This is a slide right here that shows you an example of the type of reporting that Google will show you. And right there you can see manually dialed and phone cost $1. You can see here average duration, so that's how many seconds these people were on a call. You can't see it here because they all say received, but you'll also be able to see if your client or whoever's answering the phone, if they missed the call, you can see that as well as their area code. But I can tell you that this phone cost $1. This was on an account that the cost per clicks were anywhere from $5 to $7, and so to only pay $1 is just awesome. Also, too, location extensions. This is an example of the location extension. This is how it looks when you would just do the search on Google. And then if you click the little plus and expand, this particular example has multiple locations. But if, most of the time you only see one location, but it would pop open, allow the person to see the map. Generally, you'll see the phone number as well, as you can see down here. You can get directions. And so for this particular niche of offline, of generating local business leads for offline businesses, I mean, this is the way to go. These and the call extensions. It's very powerful. And once again, it increases your click-through rate, which is going to allow you to have a higher quality score. Couple more, little more information on split testing. Once again, we got a lot of questions on that. A lot of people were struggling with the ad creative, and some of the things. Once again, one element at a time. You want to start with the headline. Try changing the word order. Description 1, period versus no period. This is another thing that's very powerful. I wish I had maybe we can look at this later, but if you've ever seen it where the headline of the ad is longer than 25 characters and that there's maybe a little hyphen after it, what's happening is that the description line 1, if you add a period at the end or an exclamation point, what it's going to do is if you're showing up in the top 3 positions, your description 1 is going to automatically move up to the headline position. So it's basically like getting an extra 35 characters in the headline. And this is something that you definitely want to test. I mean, just the difference of a period versus not can make a difference. Description 2, it's usually good to have a call to action there. So, call now. Call now to receive 20% off. Also, to promotions in description 2. Display URL, www versus not. So basically, you could just have domain.com/ instead of the www, and brand or category after the domain, and then destination URL. Something that you may want to test is a buy page versus an info page, or a pre-sale page, because sometimes maybe the person ends up on the the page where they click add to cart, and that's where they place the order. But sometimes it's better to put them on a page that kind of gives them a little more information first and gets them interested. Maybe has a testimonial video or just a video or just more information that kind of piques their interest, and then they're like, okay, I'm ready to buy, and then they go to the buy page. So that's something that you definitely want to test, and it's very easy to test. Also, too, conversion tracking. and this is in regards to the mobile click-to-call conversion tracking. So a lot of you may not know that that's something that's available, to where if you have a phone number on your website and somebody's visiting the page from a mobile device, that it's kind of like the old mail to links with, I say old, but I guess they're not. I mean, they've been around for a while, but they're still out there. To where that mail to link, basically, if you click it, it opens your email browser and allows you to email someone. And then, this is just like that, where you can click a phone number on your mobile device, and it will then do the click to call. And so Google actually gives you a method now to track that back into their system with a conversion. You got to make sure that you have this on-click event, and then basically this will call some JavaScript that's on the page. But this allows you to have, traditionally speaking, conversion tracking in AdWords is for form submits. And generally it's a lot easier to get somebody to call you than it is to get somebody to fill out a form. Especially for generally a service-based business, people want to call. The conversion rate, I would say, is generally about 30% higher when for a phone call than it would be to fill out a form. So that's something that's new. And then also too, automated rules. What Google continuously does is they continually give an enterprise-level tool set to the masses. And this is something that that you used to have to pay. The cheapest tool out there was $150 a month. And these particular tools go up to thousands, where for bid management. Some of them that are like well-known are Ad Guru, and then there's another one, Click Equations. And I mean, they offer a lot more than just automation. They also allow you to kind of dig into your stats. But I mean, these are tools that cost thousands of dollars a month, and this is something that Google gives you. You can create rules for campaigns, so you can change your daily budget or pause your campaigns when they hit a certain threshold of money. You can pause certain ad groups or raise their max bid for certain things. You can also, which is generally how I use them, is on the keyword level. So you can change your max cost per click. If let's say, for example, through your research you identify that the best position to be in is position number 2. You can tell Google to every single day go in and look at your bids and look at your positions, and if you're better than 2, then to lower your bid by a certain percentage or even a certain dollar amount. And this is something too that we're going to show you from our pay-per-click case study of how we turned a loser into a winner, and it's basically with these automated rules. But I mean, it really puts the power in your hands to optimize and to really make a profitable campaign. This is an example of a rule that automatically lowers the keyword bid. So you'll see here it's got kind of like a fancy name, but basically this name just allows us to see that when we look in the account and we see that, oh, this particular rule ran, that I don't need to dig into the rule and look at what it's doing to know what it's doing. But just to kind of walk through it, this is going to decrease the bid by 5%, and we also have a threshold of a minimum of $5 on that bid as well. So the bid will never go below $5. So if we see that, who knows? I mean, this particular account could be average cost per clicks of $15, and we don't want it to just keep going lower, and but that's something that isn't necessary. but that was something that was set here. One of the big things here you'll see is that requirements CTR, and that's kind of like a big secret because we talked about CTR, click-through rate, and how it affects your quality score. And so basically what this is doing is this is saying that if that this is only going to go for things that have a click-through rate above 3%. So if our click-through rate's below 3%, then it's not going to lower the bid, because we don't want to lower the bid, because lowering the bid is generally going to lower our click-through rate, and then our click-through rates for the whole account are going to come down. This also has average cost per click greater than $5. So once again, we had that minimum threshold. So these are looking for keywords above $5 per click, and then with an average position better than 3. So generally, 3 tends to be the sweet spot, and what this is going to do is this is going to lower the bids for, let's say, a keyword that's in the #1 position that has a high click-through rate, which is going to allow us to basically optimize our keyword bids, which will allow us to, which as you'll see here in a moment, get pretty much the same amount of traffic for a much cheaper price. So I'm just going to go ahead and open that now. Can you see that okay, Joe?
Yeah, I can see it just fine.
Okay, great. So this is basically a case study of how we turned a loser into a winner. And basically the problem is that high cost per clicks were driving up the cost per acquisition, or CPA, and the campaigns were not profitable. And so the solution that we came up with was to create an automated rule which would lower the cost per click for keywords that were too costly. Because one of the things that we were able to figure out is we knew how many clicks it would take to make a phone call, and we knew how many phone calls it would take to generate money for us, or in this case, a service appointment. And so it just came down to math that we knew that we needed 3 clicks to equal 1 call, and maybe we needed 3 calls to equal 1 service appointment. And so you can just do the math backwards and figure out what your cost per click needs to be in order for you to be profitable. And so we set up this rule, and that was actually the same rule that we had just looked at, which you'll see here on the second page. But you can see from this graph, and you can kind of see better down here, but from these graphs that the blue line is average cost per click, and the red line is average position. And so what you kind of can see from this is that the average position kind of stays around the same place, whereas that blue line, which is average cost per click, is coming down. And now on this one, you probably can't see, but I'll tell you, the blue line is clicks, and then once again that red line is average position. And so what you notice is that that our clicks pretty much stay the same. And you can really see it here, where in month 1, 4,000 clicks, 71,000 impressions. We bored out the click-through rate to be in terms of service with Google, but an average cost per click of $8. And once again, we could work this backwards to show that that wasn't profitable for us. Average position of 1.6. So then after implementing this rule, month 2, we basically got more impressions, slightly fewer clicks, because generally speaking, you would think that a higher position is going to have a higher click-through rate, and that tends to be the case. But so our click-through rate came down just by 5%, but we basically got the same, just slightly fewer clicks for $7,000 less, and that was the difference of losing a bunch of money versus making a bunch of money. And this is all from that automated rule that we just showed you. You can see that that in month 1 we were paying upwards of $8, and then month 2 $6.48. And then average position of 2. If we had on here month 3 was in the high 5s, about 575. So it was continuing to come down. And once again, one of the big things on that is having that click-through rate filter of making sure that you always want to maintain a high click-through rate. That if you can work on your click-through rate and make sure that it's continuously going up by split testing ads, then you're going to win. The ad with the highest click-through rate will win. You just have to balance that with cost per conversion, because naturally, you could be getting a lot of clicks, but not getting conversions. But I will say that one of the things that I did, years ago when I first started, is that I only looked at cost per conversion. And literally, I just didn't, I didn't really think about click-through rate. And if cost per conversion was $5 less for one ad than the other, then I just would automatically choose that one. But what you really want to look at is the click-through rate and the cost per conversion, because you may have a cost per conversion that's just slightly less on a particular ad than the other ad, but however, the click-through rate is like double, so that you're going to be able to get a lot more traffic with a higher click-through rate, and that's the way to win with Google. Here's that rule that we just showed, and that when setting up the rules, you always want to preview the results, because they may have something unexpected pop in there. You always want to preview, because in this particular instance we're decreasing the bid, but you can also do these to increase the bid, and and that's a good way to have higher costs on autopilot. You can also, this particular campaign didn't have conversion tracking, but if you do have conversion tracking, you can set in a filter for that to say, hey, I want to only lower my bids for keywords that haven't converted, or I want to lower the bid on keywords that have a high cost per conversion. And so that's basically it, where we were able to save $7,000 and pretty much get the same amount of clicks. And then I think that's about it.
All right, Ben. Thank you so much for that. We got some questions, but guys, if you got a bunch of value out of this, just put in the chat box what you thought of it, and we're going to turn over to Q&A on the stuff that Ben just covered. So Ben, I've been going through the questions, and I deleted the ones that were duplicates, and I got them ready for you. If you just want to go back to that Q&A screen, that would be great. Awesome. So I can hear your keyboard. So Joe has a question. How much of a margin do you look for between cost per appointment and the cost per click before you figure it's worth the time for the PPC campaign? Joe, that's going to be a personal preference on how much you need to make on each site for it to be worth your time. Any input on that, Ben?
Yeah. So basically, he's asking about the margins between cost per click and cost per call, right?
Exactly, or cost per appointment.
Right. So so what you want to do is just like with what we ended up doing, where we were able to do the math, and that's why we like AdWords so much. You get that sample data very quickly, and basically you want to figure out that phone through rate, and then figure out how many calls it takes to equal an appointment, and once you have those numbers that it takes 3 calls to equal an appointment, and it takes 6 clicks to equal a call or whatever. You just do the math backwards, and and you can figure out exactly what you need to pay per click. But I would generally say that you want to be at, if let's say you were getting $30 per appointment, that you definitely want to be around $5 per click or less. It really depends upon that phone through rate, and if you have that phone number prominently displayed on the site, as well as like a big offer. So call now for 20% off. That's what you need to have.
All right, great. Do you guys use the display network for your local clients?
Generally not. There are some niches that, especially, for example, if you find yourself in a market that doesn't have very many people searching, however, there's a great forum or website that's showing banner ads. That's really when you want to look at that. But for local business lead gen, generally not the display network.
All right, great. Dion wants to know if there's a way to set a goal for a phone call as a conversion.
So yeah, one of the methods that we showed was for the mobile click to call. You can also see the conversions from those Google Direct calls. So when you use that call extension, every call is like a conversion. In order to see conversions within AdWords for phone calls, that's something that you need some other tools for. Basically you have to have a system that will create what's called a postback URL. It has a postback URL that basically pings your website with the Google Analytics, and then it knows that there was a phone call. Basically it's something that is available, but that requires an advanced implementation.
Yep, definitely. All right, so Clinton asked, does search partners equal AdSense?
Not necessarily. Search partners are generally sites like AOL, for example, that are showing Google results. So generally the search partners tend to be larger sites, but there could be AdSense sites within the search partners, and I'm sure that there are.
All right, great. So Ben, can you explain? Kat wants to know if you can explain mid-tier versus long tail.
Sure. Yeah. So basically, looking at the different keywords, generally tier 1 is like the broadest keyword. So tier 1 would be dentist, let's say. Tier 2 would be could be like cleaning dentist or Lumineer dentist, or dentist Florida. That could be tier 2. Then tier 3, dentist in West Palm Beach, or dentist Palm Beach. Basically, as the more words, and that's why like the long tail, dentist in West Palm Beach, Florida, could be considered long tail, or implant dentist or crown dentist in West Palm Beach, Florida, who accepts Medicaid. That could be considered long tail. Does that answer that?
Yeah, Ben. Thank you.
All right.
All right. We got a question from Michael. Define display URL versus add destination URL.
Okay, so display URL is the part of the ad that you're able to see. So you can actually see the display URL, and I think it's generally in green. But whereas the destination URL you cannot see, and that's where when you click the ad, that's where you're going to end up going when you click the ad. Is that?
All right, wonderful. That's perfect. So David asks, first-time users means no quality score, which means bad results. Do I have that right?
Not exactly, because Google automatically assumes based upon your structuring, based upon your bids, based upon your ads, they give you an assumption, and if you're hitting right on the money, then you'll come out of the gate with quality scores of 7s and potentially even 10s. I just recently set up a new account for somebody, and I think we ended up having about 5 campaigns and 1,500 ad groups, and I think about 3,000 different ads. And right out of the gate, lots and lots of 7s, some 10s, and so Google will. They don't automatically assume that you're bad, so you can definitely start a new account and come right out of the gate with 7s, which is generally 7s is what would be considered good, and if you've got 7s with some 10s, then that would be great.
All right, wonderful. Is it possible to filter AdWords so you only pay for mobile clicks? Definitely, I think we covered that, Norman.
Exactly, and that's where you silo the campaign, and then under devices, you only check mobile, where you've got the options of desktops and laptops, mobile, and then tablet. You only check mobile, and then you're only showing to mobile users.
All right, great. So Carol Mack has a great question. How does Google know when your client picked up the phone to call, or when somebody picked up the phone to call? So how does Google know when they charge you that $1 like you showed before?
Okay, so basically what Google does is they have what's called a forwarding number, and they have lots of these. And so basically, they probably have millions, and so they only show you basically your users end up getting a unique phone number to them, and if Google gets a call on that phone number, they know that they only showed it to this particular session, and on that session, this is what the person searched, this was the ad that they clicked, so on and so forth. So basically, I guess the short answer is that Google shows them unique phone numbers, unique to them, and that's how they know, where that came from and that it was called.
All right, I definitely think that should answer Carol's question. Ben, would you say mobile is skyrocketing for Google search or growing very strong versus desktop, or is tablet growing too? Any ideas on those trends?
Yeah, let's see. I know that I saw an infographic, and if you remind me, Joe, we can definitely post it. It actually came from Google.
Okay.
One of the nice things is that Google constantly is trying to get their clients, the advertisers, to spend more money with them, and what they like to do is show these types of stats, and mobile and tablet is definitely something that that I would say is booming with the proliferation of smartphones, with the proliferation of tablets. I mean, it used to be that all the tablets were most of them were iPad. Where now you've got Android and these Samsung tablets that are out, and and so just more and more. But also too, what you'll see in the infographic is that they also talk about how tablets are used differently than mobile, so that tablets tend to be something that you're using when you're maybe laying in bed or at home, whereas mobile tends to be a little more on the go, so that when you're looking for maybe like local deals or something like that, that tends to be on mobile, whereas the users with tablets are generally at home and kind of have a different mindset.
All right, great. Could you elaborate, Ben, on what negatives are in pay-per-click?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. Sorry I didn't clarify that better. Remember when we talked about the songs, and if you have a brand or a product that is very similar to a song, so like let's say for example, I think it was a song by Rihanna called Rehab, and if you have a drug rehab client, you may be wanting to rank for the term rehab, and whereas people are searching on rehab lyrics, and if that's a broad match keyword, then you're going to rank for rehab lyrics. And so you don't want to rank for rehab lyrics. You just want to rank for rehab. And so what you do is you would go in and put a negative exact on rehab lyrics, or rehab lyrics broad on a negative match. And so then that would make it so that your ad is not shown for those keywords.
All right, awesome. I think that should definitely help clarify that issue. We got a question from Jay. He wants to know if we can use the call tracking platform and have the Google call forwarded to that number and then sent to the client's phone number. And definitely.
Absolutely. And that's definitely what's recommended, because you want to have it's so cheap to have that additional tracking, that you want to be able to log into one interface and see all your calls instead of like needing to have these over here and these over here, and then need to put them together to figure out how many total calls. You definitely want them all running through ACT. Because also too, just to add to that, Google does not allow you to hear the recordings, whereas that's a feature in ACT that you have. So Google will show you duration of call, area codes, things like that, but they do not show recordings. And also, you can't tag anything in Google. So if maybe the person that answered the phone did a really poor job, and you want to bring that to your client's attention because they're paying you per scheduled appointment, and the person answering the phone is not doing a very good job. You're going to be hard pressed to find that in Google, whereas in ACT, you can tag that call and then bring that to their attention.
All right, awesome. So Mickey Smith has a question. He wants you to cover, Ben, the period versus the no period further, and which one allows the second line to appear in the header?
The period or exclamation point is what allows you for that to go up. And I was thinking too, Joe. We've got we talked about potentially jumping into AdWords a little bit. And that is something that we could show very quickly.
Okay.
I know that we're okay. So basically, here's this top ad. Here's this preview. So, like we said, West Palm Beach dentist. and then let's say free exam or X-ray. So you can see here, and that's why I had mentioned that you need to be in the top 3 positions for this to trigger. And so this is what it will always look like on the side, but now you'll see that as soon as I added that period, that description line 1 jumped up here. Free exam or X-ray today only. And what you'll notice is that if you have an exclamation point, you don't see any period or anything, whereas if you do a period, then you end up seeing a period. They both make it jump up to the top, but that's how it ends up looking. And so you can see that that makes your headline very powerful, when it's in the top ad.
All right, great. Hopefully that clarifies. Dave has a great question. He says, has anybody been fired when you show the client that their staff have poor phone manners? So we've had a couple rocky instances. My thought moving forward, when we deal with that now, if they're not happy and they kind of get upset and push back too much, I would just fire them because it's going to lead to issues down the road.
Yeah, and especially too because once again, depending upon the model that you set up with that client, if you're being paid based upon the performance of that person answering the phone, I mean that's kind of when it gets a little sticky. If you generate a lot of phone calls for them and you hear that this person's not doing a good job, then like Joe said, that's somebody that you either want to fire or you want to say, hey, we either need to switch to a cost per call, or part ways.
Exactly. All right. So Dion has a question. Dion is the one that we had the test or his blurb in the beginning. He got a pay-per-click client, so
yep.
He has a question on what you would consider the top 3 to 5 factors to getting a 7 to 10 quality score right out of the gate with a brand new account.
The top 3 to 5 factors would be structuring the account, having, and this is kind of not in any particular order, but having your campaign settings optimized with the display network off, having your location targeting approximately a 10-mile radius. Something ends up happening when you try to target too narrow of an area. If it's a metropolitan area, then that might work. But if there's not many, if you're drilling in too much, then that can hurt that. So having those campaign settings, then making sure that your ad groups are very, very tight, meaning that if for example, if your keywords are Lumineers dentist and Lumineers dentist in West Palm Beach, like right there, you could create 2 different ad groups. One that's just Lumineers dentist, and then another one that has Lumineers dentist West Palm Beach, so that the whole point is that you're able to target your ads based upon those keywords. So that if somebody's mentioning the word Lumineer in their keyword, that you're mentioning it in the ad, and you want to shoot for, and you don't need to overdo it, because there's definitely a fine mix between like call to actions, promotions, and then keywords. But you definitely want to try to have that keyword in the headline. A lot of times, like I'll put the keyword in the headline, and then allow my description line 1, similar to kind of like this ad here that's still showing on the screen. I'll let description line 1 kind of get the person interested with the call to actions and offers, and But then you could also like in this particular ad, you could include dentist maybe in description line 2, and then also the display URL where you could say like domain.com/dentist, or you could say WPB, because that's like West Palm Beach abbreviated dentist. But in short, you want to have the keyword in the headline. I like to use description line 1 for call to actions, promos, things of that nature. But depending upon the mix of description 1 and description 2, I would say as a rule of thumb, try to get your keyword or like dentist, like some variant of that keyword in description 1 or description 2, and then as well as on the display URL. Because like if for example, if it's like Lumineers dentist, then Google likes to see that, as well as then your landing page, making sure that your landing page has those keywords, and that preferably that on that site that there's a link that points to this Lumineers page. So if you're a West Palm Beach dentist and you offer Lumineers and you have this on a link on your site pointed to this page, and this particular page talks about Lumineers, as long as you're not trying to just dump all your keywords into one ad group and show one ad to everybody, that's kind of the main thing. And some people may have heard where I don't know, I haven't heard a lot of this recently, but in the past where it was like, oh, one keyword per ad group, and that definitely allows you to target an ad to that one keyword. But I tend to think that that's a little excessive, and that especially for lower volume keywords. If it's like a high volume keyword, like maybe just like dentist exact, then maybe you want that one keyword for one ad group. But otherwise, I think Google likes to have 10 to 20 keywords to be able to kind of put together the theme. I like to have singular, plural, so dentist, dentists. As long as that search intent doesn't change, that's really what you want to be focusing on. If you can have 5 to 10 to 15 keywords where they basically have all the same search intent and similar, and they're all similar keywords, so there's not one that's like has one word in it that the others don't, that you should be fine. If you have the keyword in the ad, if you have the keywords on the page, and then if you have 5 to 15 keywords within an ad group with a targeted ad for those keywords, then you should always do fine. If you're not, then I would look at some of the other recommendations in regards to making sure that you have a privacy policy, making sure that you have a terms of service, and making sure that contact us page, that these are things that Google can very easily scan and look and see if to try to gauge, is this a real business? Is this, and even like, for example, MSN Ad Center, they actually made a change a couple months back to where if you had a form on your page and you didn't have a privacy policy, that they just automatically disapproved all your ads. Google hasn't done that, but what they do is they just lower your quality score. So if you have all those things in line, then you should definitely do okay.
All right, great. So Ben, let's say we're moving forward with a client in Miami that did AC repair. What steps would you personally take determine the test ad spend budget?
Okay, and what's it's in Miami, and what is it again?
Let's just say AC repair for an example.
Okay, and so what's a decent budget, right?
Right.
So I would say what you want to do is look at the Google keyword tool and get some sort of an estimated cost per click. So I'm just gonna put something in here. And you said you said AC repair in Miami.
Right.
So what I like to do is come in here and just add like one keyword. And then what I like to do is come back and see what Google recommends. But and that's for setting up the ad groups, by the way. But for to discover the average cost per click, you can use Google's tool. But I'll say that I don't really find these tools to be very accurate. And I think that the reason is that the bid price is determined on that quality score. So this, I've seen this time after time again, to where this will show an average cost per click of $5, but maybe it really is costing us 10. So AC repair, we've got an average cost per click of $21. Now that's nationwide. So what for me with the budget, I like to just get started with a decent budget, which decent I would say maybe $100 a day, and depending upon that cost per click rate, you'll see what you're going to get, because a lot of times you may put $100 a day and you may have $10, you may be paying $10 a click, but you only end up getting 5 clicks. So what I would recommend for Miami and AC repair specifically is I would set up the geo-targeted campaign for Miami, and then I'd put in their AC repair, and I would just put a cost per click that I'm comfortable with, and then which let's say maybe $10. It could depend upon what that lead price is going to be, and then I like to just start it and then see what happens, because like I said, I haven't really found any tools that really provide an accurate picture. Like Google has this traffic estimator, and I don't find that to be very accurate at all. I mean, just to give you an idea, a recent campaign that I set up, the client had a $10,000 a month budget, and we were looking at the traffic estimator with all their keywords in there, and we're like, we're not going to be able to spend $10,000. That's not going to work out. We even went to SpyFu. That's another resource, spyfu.com. It's SPYFU.com. If you guys haven't ever heard of that. And even SpyFu said that these people were spending about $1,000 a month, and so we didn't think we'd be able to spend that money, and then lo and behold, once we get started, we can see that we can easily spend $10,000 and more, and we're actually getting them to up their budget. So I know that it's not a really good answer, but that's just what I've found, is that any time that we try to estimate how much traffic we're going to get or what that cost per click is going to be, there's just so many factors involved that we're not really able to really set that very accurately. And so I just like to come up with something that we're comfortable with, and to know that, hey, if depending upon the market or the niche, that we're going to need 10 clicks to equal a phone call, or we're going to need 5 clicks to equal a phone call, and I can pay up to $10 per click if it's 5 clicks. So I'd be at $50 a phone call, but maybe it only takes that the phone calls convert very highly for appointments, and that make sure that that's all in line. But so the answer is that I like to just come up with something that I'm comfortable with, or that the client's comfortable with, and just get started and see what happens, see where it actually lands. And generally what you will always find is that if you do a good job of tweaking your ads, working towards that higher click-through rate, that what you'll find is that it's going to be the most expensive when you begin generally, but that then as you tweak things, that your cost per click is going to come down, and then that you'll be able to also even get more clicks, because that's the other thing is that as your quality score is higher, Google is just giving you more impressions and showing your ads more often.
All right, great answer, Ben. Just to add to that, I would say, for us, when I'm selling a lead gen job, I make them commit at least a couple grand, $2 to $3 grand, and if they're not willing to do that, I'll go find somebody else who is. So that's just something for you guys to think about as well. Got a question from Mark Benda. He wants to know, in your experience, Ben, is it better to increase the cost per click till you get a higher click-through rate and then back it down?
Absolutely, and that's a best practice that we teach, is that we always go in hot, is what we call it. We always go in hot and then start bringing down that cost per click. And what you'll find is that that's putting that best foot forward with Google. It's like when right out of the gate, you're showing up high in the top 3 positions, and you've got really good ads, and they're all very targeted. That right out of the gate, you've got a high click-through rate, and so Google then ends up rewarding you for that, where then they might raise your quality scores. And then you can start backing down that cost per click, and basically maintain very similar positions, and or clicks or impressions, and that's goes back to like the case study that we showed, where you go in hot and then you bring it down, and you basically get the same for less.
Exactly. Steve wants to know if there's a way that you can see what the competitors are paying per click. Yeah, SEMrush or SpyFu, but the problem is they're not that accurate.
Right.
Chan wants to know if your display URL and destination URL have to be identical.
Destination URL and display URL?
Yeah.
No, but they need to land on the same. They need to be the same domain. So, for example, you can have a redirect link for your destination URL that could be a completely different domain. Like there's a site called Link Shifter, and it allows you to to have multiple redirect links with one link. But so the domain in the destination URL is Link Shifter, but where it actually where it ends up is what's important. So if after all the redirects take place, if it's on domain.com, then domain.com needs to show in the display URL. Now, one of the things that I will say that you can get away with is you can show or appear to have like a subdomain in the display URL, where you could say, it could be freeoffer.domain.com as opposed to domain.com/freeoffer, and to where that's technically a subdomain, and as long as the main domain is the same as where that ends up, then you'll be okay. But one thing that I should mention is that you can only have one domain per ad group. So if like let's say if you wanted to drive traffic to 2 different domains, that they would need to be in different ad groups. So where the destination URL ends up landing after all the redirects take place, that's what the display URL needs to be. Other than that instance where, or it could be a subdomain, that's available. But that's it.
Okay. Corinne wants to know, or Corin wants to know, when do you decide which ad won? So basically, how many clicks do you look for? What's your signs?
Okay, that's a great question. There are some ads that right off the bat you can tell are performing much better to where, and a lot of times that's based on the click-through rate. If you've got an ad that's like at 1%, and then you get a new ad, and I would say generally that in terms of the days, because sometimes you create a new ad and you're like, wow, I really hit it out of the park. This thing's got a 10% click-through rate, and where maybe your other ads have like a 5, and you just so happen that you got a conversion at 50% less cost per conversion than the other ads, and that's like a similar case where you think, oh man, that's a clear winner, but then as you let it play out a little longer, it doesn't stay that good. But generally, I would say preferably 1,000 impressions. Something that you have to also look at that's tricky is that sometimes what ends up happening is when you create a new ad, if that particular ad doesn't have any history, that the ad with the history will show higher than that other ad. So if ad A that you've been running for 6 months, that Google knows, okay, here's the click-through rate, that they show that ad in the number 3 position, and then you put out a new ad, it may show up in the number 4 or number 5 position, even with the same keyword bid and everything. And that's because Google hasn't built up a history on it. So in those particular cases, you've got to let it play out a little bit longer to kind of see what the deal is. But I would say 1,000 impressions at least, and generally 100 clicks. It's a hard question because it really depends upon the volume of the keywords that we're talking about. With high volume keywords, I could generally tell you, within a day or a week. And let me say this, that it's a lot easier to depict the high click-through rate than it is to depict the cost per conversion, because the click-through rate tends to be similar and kind of stay on the same course, whereas the cost per conversion, depending upon the niche, one day could be just hero and be converting very well, and then the next day not so much. I've seen markets like that. So I would say at least 100 clicks and at least 1,000 impressions. Depending upon what metric you're looking at. If you're looking at based upon conversions, then I would say maybe at least 10 conversions for each particular ad. It really just depends. There are some industries that it's more sensitive, and then there's others that are not. And but something else too that you want to look at is the click-through rate and then the conversions, and to figure out if it's statistically significant. So for example, if one ad has like a 3.59 conversion rate, and then the other ad has a 3.56, that's probably not enough to be statistically significant, and that there's really not a clear winner. I'm pretty certain that there is a free resource online that's like a calculator that allows you to determine if something's statistically significant. But we can take a look and see if that's something that a resource that maybe we can pass your guys' way.
All right, great. So Steve wants to know if you suggest going through Google's training on AdWords.
Absolutely. This is an area that they've just continuously improved, and it's just there's just a lot of it. But yeah, I mean, it's the AdWords training is very good, and I would definitely recommend it.
All right, great. So we got one question here that's off topic. Somebody's asking if we suggest or recommend HostGator for analytic call tracking. HostGator works fine, so that should help answer your question. All right.
Got a lot of questions.
Yeah. Okay, so we got somebody new, Ben, named Steve. He says he has a potential client that he personally knows that he's talking with tomorrow, and he's been burned in the past by Service Magic. He's asking how would we suggest that is the best way to go, forward with him. And he's asking if he should do a month and then, reevaluate. He said he's never done this before, but he's just looking for some advice.
Yeah, and I think that that's definitely the recommended approach. It's like those beginning slides where if this is something that you're new to, and I mean, trust me, guys. I mean, this has happened to for me and Joe, where this is if there's a market that we've never done anything in, and once again we go and we look and we see, oh well, this is what it says the average cost per click is, and it seems like we can make money or whatever, that get the client to pay for that market research. Go for a month and get them to pay the AdWords budget, and then just say, hey, at the end of the month we're going to come back and look at things and set up something that's mutually beneficial. But the main thing to realize there is that you own the asset, that you didn't charge them to build the campaigns, and so because you did not, then you own that asset. So if it happens to work really well, and they don't want to pay much to your side for your efforts, then you can just take that to somebody else. So I would definitely recommend that approach of getting them to pay for the ad spend, evaluating things after a month or after 2 months, and then and then mainly the risk is on them. I mean, if you were really concerned about not wanting to to upset that person or whatever, then you could bear all the risk and do a based upon a scheduled appointment. To where if he's been burned in the past, you could say, hey, we're only going to charge you for results, but you just got to keep in mind that then you bear all the risk, and hey, you could end up blowing through a couple grand and only get one scheduled appointment for them at the end of the month, and then you've got to credit them that money. So I mean, that is an option, but that generally to let the risk remain on the client, in those uncertain situations, and you should always be all right.
Guys, we're getting a lot of questions on this, and you guys are just a lot of you guys are overthinking this. So if you're sitting down with a client and they tell you that they've been burned by Service Magic, most likely you're going to be chatting with them, and they're going to basically tell you without being real direct that they believe in the internet, they believe what it can do for their business, but that they've been burned in the past. So if you guys can convey to them that you know more than the average person and that you're willing to put your money where your mouth is, you'll set up the campaign for them, and you're not going to charge them for the first month. You'll see how it goes, and then you guys will come up with something that will be mutually beneficial to both of you. They're not going to turn you down very often.
Right, exactly.
Dan wants to know the benefits of Google Express versus AdWords.
So the benefits of Google Express are that you can get things set up even quicker. Google picks all the pretty much picks all the keywords for you. You pretty much put in an ad, and and then that's what they work with. So it's definitely more of an automated solution, but that tends to be much broader as well. That you're going to end up finding that by you setting up your own AdWords campaign, that you're able to target in on everything. You're able to split test your ads. You're able to throw in negative keywords or not throw in keywords. Whereas AdWords Express, you're very limited, where Google kind of picks it and you can't really change it. They offer like a contact form that you can contact them to, like, say, like, oh, we don't want traffic on these particular keywords, but it's you don't have all the flexibility, I guess is the best way to put it, that you do with regular AdWords. I mean, AdWords Express can work, and for a newbie that just wants to put in a budget and not really think about it, that can be an okay solution. And sometimes you may even want to have AdWords and AdWords Express running, but that you have much more ability to target on everything with AdWords standard.
Exactly. So we have a question here, and they're saying that they're going to be honest that they're afraid to use AdWords because they might lose a lot of money. They say that they feel like they should go after position A on Google Places, and if that doesn't bring in enough leads, then they should do Google AdWords. My input is basically we don't want to be left in doing Google Places and in that A spot and not making money, or not making a lot of money. That's why it's really important that if you take this extra step, you can know exactly what you're in for. So you can know that, hey, the client's willing to pay me $80 for a call, and I can generate the calls for 30 with AdWords. And on top of that, it might cost me a couple $100 to get in Google Places and get to the top of it, but my ROI is going to be huge with that because I'll be bringing in calls every day. So the importance of this whole concept, guys, is just to be able to do everything really, really quickly. So very fast, you guys know what's in it for you in that niche. All right, guys. Can you guys please let me know if we have any more questions, particularly pertaining to pay-per-click? We need to jump into the general Q&A, guys. It's almost 10 p.m. here. So let me know if you guys have any more questions, particularly on pay-per-click, and we'll get those answered real quick. Ben, Dion wants to know if you recommend letting Google agency department do your keyword research and set up your first campaign. For us, for a client, he says it's a free service, but he's wondering if they'll perform well.
I think it's probably going to be on a case-by-case basis. I mean, I've personally never used their services to set up a campaign from scratch. They've offered some insight after the campaign is running. Things like, oh, tablets are getting good conversions, and it's not too costly, so you may want to do more of that. I've never used them to set up a campaign from scratch, and like I said, I mean, generally Google has things set up the way that it makes them the most money, but so I've personally never tried that from setup. So I couldn't really speak from experience, but just like with all the bid options, I like to remain in control because when Google's in control, it tends to be what best suits them, not necessarily what best suits me.
All right, great. We got a question. I'm not sure, maybe Ben, if you can decipher this for me. It says, can we use call to action without nominating destination URL?
Can we use call to action without nominating destination URL?
So I'm not really sure what they're asking. Phil, if you could just repost that, we'll get an answer for you. Jay wants to know if the business name that we use for the local listings or for the URL need to be a registered company name like an LLC or an incorporation. No, it doesn't. Chan wants to know if we suggest building a lead gen site and then using PPC to get leads. Guys, again, it's just market research, and very quickly you can know whether or not you should be paying in the niche or playing in the niche. If after 30 days your client looks at you and says, "Great, it was a, we paid $40 per call, and guess what, Joe? I was willing to pay you 80." I know that there's lots of money to be made in that niche. Jay, we've never personally had an MCC account banned. Ben, have you ever heard of an MCC account getting banned?
I mean, I've heard of
like individual accounts, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, basically, when they get banned is when there's something fishy going on, where all the accounts that are in that, I don't know, they're able just to connect the dots. I have heard of and that's why people have things spread out over different MCC accounts, but generally not, because if so it's probably few and far between, because if you're adding in clients that that's not, you don't have any control over what they did, so I mean it's not likely.
Okay, so Phil clarified his question. He said, do we need to have a destination URL if we have the call extension? And the answer is yes.
Yes, definitely. One thing that can happen is that for high-end mobile devices, that you can turn off the ability for them to be able to click and go to your website, where when they click the phone number or they click the ad, it just opens up to click the call. I mean, you still have to have a destination URL in there, but that can just be the direct click to call. And you could always put in like your Google Places URL if you don't have a website.
That's a great point, definitely. All right, so we're getting a lot of questions on questions related if we're building out, or if we're going to be basically integrating the keyword level call tracking on ACT. And guys, this is a huge development project, and to be honest, we haven't decided, and the reason is because it's so huge. We could work on this for the next 6 months and not give you guys one single other update, and so all of the modules and updates that are done with ACT are based upon your guys' response. So when you guys raise your hand and say, I want this and I want that, and we realize that those are important to you, we build out those aspects. Chan wants to know, in one of the videos we mentioned using in-URL-ServiceMagic.com, and what was the rest of that? So Chan's referring to how to find different people in your area, in your lead generation niche in a specific city that are using ServiceMagic. So let me just, I'll just paste this in for you guys, an example, into the chat box. So it would be basically in-URL:/ServiceMagic.com space, and then whatever the niche is, so let's say plumber, and then city, like Chicago. And if you do that search, you click on the first result in the organic listings, and that's going to bring you up a list of people that are using ServiceMagic that are plumbers in Chicago in this circumstances. Chris wants to know if we have any software tools that you help or that help you put together pay-per-click campaigns.
Yeah, I generally use Excel. I've used tools such as WordStream and Search Manager and a bunch of different ones, but good old Excel tends to work the best. You can get everything set up to where it's very quick and easy, and I think probably the reason is that to go from Excel into AdWords Editor, which is like their desktop tool that allows you to do things in bulk, is very quick and easy. So if you like using AdWords Editor, then Excel is a great companion to that.
Sorry, guys, I've been sitting here talking for the last couple of minutes, and I guess I was muted. So we had a question if we use our clients' names in our ads, and I wouldn't recommend doing that. Sorry about that, guys. George is saying that the 24/7 Miami Locksmith site doesn't have a privacy policy or terms of service, and we haven't done pay-per-click with that one, George, so there wasn't a need to build out those pages. No, there's no rhyme or reason on how we pick the domains, for the local sites. Bill, we are not going to cover Bing or Yahoo. We've set up campaigns for clients even in big cities with Bing and Yahoo, and the fact is the amount of time it takes to get the results and build out the campaigns just really isn't worth what we're seeing in return. Any comments on that, Ben? Nope. Okay.
I'm sorry. I was trying to answer some of these questions here on the side. What was that?
It's all right. We got it taken care of. I'm just.
All right. Sorry about that.
No problem. Dave wants to know if all our sites are .com sites, or do we have some .net or .org. Personally, on the local side, we're going with the .coms. So yes, guys. So let's say that you guys did go ahead and you got a client just like Dion, and you build out a campaign. You find out what keywords are getting searched on, which ones are making people pick up the phone and call. You're going to take that data and you want to go after as many different results on the page as possible. So you want to get a listing in the places results. You want to get your money site ranked up and high, and even video as well. And you want to try to take over as many spots on that page as possible. So guys, definitely SEO and pay-per-click are going to give you guys the biggest ROI, or I'm sorry, SEO and Google Places, but it's not fast like Google AdWords. Ben, can you answer a question for Len? What are UTM codes?
Oh, sure. So UTM codes are, what allow you to track like the source or the medium or a campaign name, for example. And a good resource for that is the Google URL Builder. And if you just Google URL Builder, it should be the first result here. And basically, you put in your website, and then you can manually set a campaign source. So like Google, Yahoo, or Bing, for example, the medium. So CPC is always what it is for when it's paid, or as you can see here, banner, email. And then you can use the UTM underscore content to differentiate different ads. So this plugs into Google Analytics, and if you just search for the Google URL Builder, it kind of lists some pretty good examples here. And once again, with using AdWords specifically, that connects into analytics, they bring in a lot of this stuff for you. But for example, if you were advertising on like MSN Ad Center, or if you were advertising anywhere else for that matter, and you wanted to tag them in Google Analytics, then this is what you would use to do that.
All right, great. Dion says he was trying to sign up for an MCC account and it just took him back to his AdWords account. Looks like he's having trouble getting that set up. Any suggestions?
I would maybe try a different email address.
All right, wonderful. And just so you guys know, a lot of these questions, again, have been covered a few times. You guys probably are going to want to watch this replay once it's been up, just to make sure that you're able to digest everything. All right, so Dave wants to know which method I use first when building out an all-attack video, Google Places, pay-per-click, or SEO. So I always try to start with pay-per-click, get the research done. Then typically, if it's going to be a go, I then go after Google Places. I get my account set up right away and get my citations and things because it's going to take a little bit for that Google Places account to surface and actually start ranking. So when I'm building out the Google Places account, I build a couple videos, and those are the videos that I actually target organically as well. And then I start working on the SEO, and typically by the time that the SEO starts to hit, my Google Places is starting to work as well. And we're seeing that when we can get on the first page for some of our primary keyword terms, that our Google Places are starting to rank better as well and are being pulled into the 7-pack. All right, guys, we got about 15 minutes left on the Q&A. We are still going through your questions, and we're going to try to make sure we get to all of them. Ben is actually typing a bunch of you guys back and trying to get your questions all answered. We got a question about SEO. We're going to go over that extensively in another webinar. We could go over that now, but we wouldn't have anybody else's questions answered. How does one optimize landing page design for mobile AdWords? I'll answer this, Ben. Just keep going at it with the Q&A and answering those people back privately with messages. For me, I think about mobile landing pages. I think that the offer needs to be very clear and right up in front. And the mobile sites need to be very minimalistic. They need to show the offer. They need to show the address. They need to show the phone number, the office hours, and that's it. Keep it simple. Duncan says he needs to review this video a couple times. There's a lot in it, definitely. I think you guys will find we over-deliver on all of our video trainings. All right. We got a question from Chan. If a niche has more than 2 businesses ranking in the top spots for Google Places, organic search, and pay-per-click, should you still pursue ranking in that niche or move on? I would say that you need to definitely play around in that niche because most likely if there's competitors, most likely there's traffic, Chan. Gary wants to know if we use Facebook to do lead generation. Definitely, Gary, but what you have to consider is the client that you're working with. Is it really a direct response type campaign that you're running or not? So, for example, a lot of the niches that we do business in are niches where people are only searching for our clients because something went wrong and they're in an emergency type situation. So let's say roofing. Say they have water coming into their house. Their roof is leaking. Are you guys going to go on Facebook and look for a roofing company? No. But when it makes sense, we definitely use Facebook. So guys, the replay will be up shortly, most likely tomorrow, if not the following day. Let's see. Dave wants to know if we've ever tried a .info site to test with PPC and if the niche is good to go for a .com later. Personally, Dave, I just don't think a lot of people recognize that extension. Think about like older people; they barely know what a .com is. So personally, I just go with the top level domains. So I have another couple of questions here. The question says, I have a long-established relationship with a new client who has a weak web presence. Would you just build a lead gen with a call tracking number, or is there a way to use their existing number, which is their business number that has been used for around 50 years, and track it in ACT somehow? No, you guys always need your own new tracking number. So another question is on pricing. So he says, for example, his client was just awarded a contract to paint a multi-million-dollar home for about 25 grand. How should he charge? If all of his stuff is going to be high like that, either a very high cost per call, or you might want to look into doing a percentage of revenue. All right, I think those are answered, John. So we got a question about when do you do cost per appointment based stuff. Guys, you always, whenever you do cost per appointment, make sure that you're in at least 2 to 3 different cities and you're seeing how your different clients are converting their calls into actual appointments. because there's nothing worse than working with a client that can't convert those calls to appointment, and you guys are relying on them to, because you guys are going to almost, you're just putting yourself in a bad spot. You don't want to rely on that. But on a different token, if you can work out the averages, and if you can scale and you can do per appointment, you can usually get a lot more money for that because you're taking out the risk. But you have to know what those cutoff numbers are. So if your client isn't converting at X%, you know when to shut them off. Do you ever do videos with the client explaining his or her products or services to get them ranked? I do not because I wouldn't own that video. I mean, if they signed over the rights or something for that, possibly, but I don't want to brand them, and I don't want it to lead to issues in the future. All right, guys, I think that we have answered everyone's questions tonight. I want to thank you guys all so much for being on the call. We're going to go ahead and end this training. We look forward to having all of you guys next Monday at 8 p.m. Have a great night.